faith, belief in action. Randy Ollis is finding people who are guided by their faith from all religions, denominations, and walks of life, and sharing their stories with you. From the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is Finding Faith, brought to you by Northview Church.
Their faith is strong because it survived so many difficult tests. Terry and Jane Fleck, they stared down infertility and loss. We have a very special testing faith that's coming up right here. Well, on our Finding Faith segment here today, a very special one. I have Terry and Jane Fleck. They're with me today, and we go back quite a ways, don't we?
We
go to
do.
church
That's
together
for sure.
here for many years.
Absolutely.
We all have a story. We all have a testimony in life. And on our Finding Faith segment today, we're talking about infertility and all the losses you have been through. You've been married, what, how long?
43 years, going on 44. Actually, in May will be our 44th. We'll start our 44th year.
Okay. And you have two daughters, two adopted daughters, right?
That's right.
You tried to have your own children, but didn't quite turn out the way you wanted it to. Tell us about that.
No, it didn't. I mean, we started our marriage. We really wanted children, and so we started in pretty much right away, actually. And it was our first pregnancy was 4 years into our marriage, and we lost that baby at 4 months of age, and that kind of started us into a persistent cycle of following their 11 consecutive documented miscarriages.
11.
Without a sustained pregnancy, so we lost all those babies.
Emotionally, how did you guys feel about that? I mean, that may be a dumb question, but I mean,
No,
tell
it's
us
a
how you
very
felt
real
there, Jane.
question. It's at the core of a woman to want to, for most women, not all, but to want to give birth and want to raise your own children. So it's a struggle. It's a struggle that's around you every day, all day long almost, with friends having babies and grocery store having baby items. And, it's just everywhere that you're faced with it, with your empty arms.
So after 11 miscarriages, I think you told me earlier once that you told God that you could not do this any longer. Is that correct? Or?
I did. After the 11th, I said, Lord, I'm submitted to your plan, but I really, if it's not going to stay, if the baby's not going to stay around, then I don't want to get pregnant anymore. And I never got pregnant after that. God is so good.
So he closed the womb.
He closed my
permanently
womb.
there.
Yes.
So after the 11th miscarriage, you decided to go ahead and adopt.
We pivoted
did.
Moved toward adoption and adopted actually both girls within 3 years of that decision, or 3 years apart.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they also experienced loss as well, didn't they? I mean, this is shocking. It really is.
They did, yeah. They each lost 3 babies. And so we have had the full gamut of losing early on in pregnancy, as well as losing our oldest daughter lost one at birth, and that was very traumatic, and she actually almost died in that process. So it was a pretty traumatic experience for us.
So, I mean, it's not biological because these were 2 adopted
Exactly.
daughters. There,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
Wow, I bet
Yeah.
you were really questioning God then.
Yeah, when things don't go our way, we do, don't we?
Yeah, we sure do. Yes.
But the things that we learned in the process and the secret treasures of God's heart that he shared, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's hard for a woman going through that right now to hear that, but in the long perspective, we grew through it.
So after 17 miscarriages, tell us when the cycle was broken.
Adopting that our first little girl, first baby, they were both infants when we adopted them, and then 3 years later, we adopted the second. And so, but the cycle of losing 17 was when our youngest gave birth to a live baby, Eliza, and it was just quite a celebration.
Yeah, a lot of joy finally
Absolutely.
came to the family then. So,
yeah.
Terry, as the father of 11 miscarriages, to watch your wife go through all the physical and emotional trauma, How'd you do it? What did you do to support her?
Well, you want answers. I was a problem solver, and so therefore I was trying to reach out to God. I was reaching out to God, saying, "Okay, do you have an answer for this? I'd like to have some reasoned understanding of why this is happening." And yet, as a Christian, I believe the Bible story, which teaches that when man chose not to trust God but to trust his own instincts, sin's curse entered humankind at that point, and so death, destruction, dysfunction were all a part of that. And yet, I'm a strong believer that Jesus, God's Son, actually took on humanity and lived, suffered, died to break that curse and to reverse that curse, which he did. And so I had to grow in my learning around this whole issue of childlessness and infertility, that this was one of the issues that Jesus had already paid for, and so he didn't cause this.
Right.
This is the effects of sin's curse that we just all have to live through. That in and of itself gave me great confidence, great freedom, great hope, particularly that I would see those children again. I just don't enjoy the experience of raising them. And it's just been interesting over the years that I never forget those 11 children of our own, and then even when our own children, our daughters, were going through theirs, it was just this thought that I'll see those children at some point
on the other side.
On the other side, at some point in the future.
Yeah.
And I'll just digress one quick moment. I can remember one very distinct interaction with God, not an audible voice, but I had imagined that when I get to heaven, I will see those children grown up. And I was reading a passage of Scripture from Isaiah 11, and the thought as I was reading through this came to me that there were toddlers, and there were grown children, and there were little children. There was just a diversity of ages. And again, not an audible voice, but this thought came to me, what if it isn't as you expect? And I started to question, what do you mean by that? And it was, what if I allow you the opportunity to raise your children in heaven?
Wow.
I had never thought of that.
Boy,
and that just gave me a whole new perspective of what this might have really been about. And I didn't have that answer, as we were going through those miscarriages, but as the years go on, as your relationship deepens, it was just, I've often said, if I make a mistake about God's nature, I'm going to make a mistake around how I live.
Wow,
and so I have to embrace the fact that his nature is 100% good.
Yes. And everything that comes into a believer's life, there is a purpose for it, even though you may never know why.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I may not understand. I don't have to have all of my questions answered. I just need to hold on to the root of his goodness.
Do you think when we get to heaven that you'll go up to the Lord and ask him why, or do you think maybe we'll just be thrilled to be in his presence and we won't have to know why?
Yeah, I think probably both. We're going to be extremely thrilled to be in his presence. I also believe that there's going to be instant understanding. All those questions that lingered will suddenly be answered and enriched, and we'll have a much clearer glimpse of what actually transpired and what happened.
We can only speculate now, but it gets us exciting to go there. So, hey, just a couple more questions too. Were you guys ever bitter or mad at God here? I just real briefly, I know when I lost my job back in 1989, I remember just walking out of work before I left permanently and just saying, God, I'm mad at you. I'm mad at you. I didn't think this should happen. And I just want you to know that I'm mad. And no voice, but those thoughts came back, and it was like, he said, that's okay, my child. I still love you anyway.
That's
and
right.
it's like his love is unconditional. It never changes, no matter how we feel. And I think he wants us to tell him, how we feel, give him our emotions. And that. Would you agree? Or?
Yeah.
It's a relationship.
Yeah.
And he wants us to be real in that relationship. So yes, we were angry in moments, but never bitter. We really went to a place that we knew we didn't want to go bitter, because there's a root of bitterness that once the trial is over, most suffering has seasons, and once that's over, that root grows in criticalness and
only hurts
caustic,
yourself.
and it only produces death then to those around you, to yourself, to your soul. So we wanted to grow, and God knew our hearts. So He knows we're frail. He knows we're but dust.
Yeah,
So
we really are.
that's what the Word says.
And I think too, the Scripture says, don't come short of grace and let a root of bitterness persist,
Yes.
because it leads to so many other things.
Yes, it
Yeah.
does.
And I think, for anyone that's going through this, that's probably our first recommendation is don't go bitter. Don't do that. And sometimes when we're in times of uncertainty, we invent theological answers to help us feel better. But that's sacrificing truth, and you don't want to do that. You want to get the people around you that will give you courage, which is going to come through encouragement.
So did you have support groups at church, friends,
We did.
neighborhood,
We had
whatever?
friends.
You want to be sure that the support group that's around you will point you to the Lord and to truth. But you can't have unrealistic expectations of them, because only the Lord can meet all of your needs. He knows moment by moment, because especially going through that as a woman, your hormones are crazy.
Yeah.
And friends are wonderful, and they can be very supportive and ask you how they can help. But
Okay.
it has to be. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, what other advice would you give to somebody if they know of a friend or a couple who's going through this? What are maybe some things they should say or not say?
Yeah. People want to be an encouragement, but they say really not encouraging
things
They do.
Yeah.
But it's an opportunity to grow in graciousness toward them and recognizing the heart that they have of wanting to encourage you. And so be gracious, have realistic expectations. Don't go to a baby shower if, don't expect your
Can't
friend to
handle it.
come to your baby shower if they're not at a place that they can handle it. Losing a baby is a miscarriage. Some people think it's quick to get over. Some women, it takes quite a while. It's a grieving process. So give lots of space and in that.
And
So-
sometimes you just come along and it's not what you say, it's just the fact of your presence.
Being there,
And
yeah.
just holding somebody or crying with them.
Maybe we can go back to Job. When his friends came, they gave him terrible advice,
Yes,
right?
they
But the
did.
thing is, they should just come, and initially they just sat and listened.
Yeah.
Yes,
And that's what would help you guys out and anybody
It
else
is.
going through this. Just have an ear.
that's right.
Listen, us guys, Terry, we always want to fix it.
I
That's
know,
right.
We want a
Everything
problem
like that.
solved.
Yeah. That doesn't always
Sometimes there are
happen.
no answers.
There's no answers. And you may never find out what the answer is, why you went through this. And
That's right.
everybody has trials like
They
this.
do.
And a lot of times we just don't know why.
Yes.
But we know who's in control.
And
That's
I think
right.
that's the fact of the pathway of faith is you have to be willing to live within the mystery of not knowing.
Yeah. That's the hardest thing.
It is
Yeah,
hard.
it is.
Because we want to know.
Yeah.
We want to be in control.
Yeah.
But
That's
we
right.
don't know. And we're not in control.
That's right.
It's going to
Yeah.
be that way until we go home to heaven.
That's
here.
right.
So,
That's right.
anything else you want to add? If not, we'll conclude this here. And
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Yeah.
It's great to visit with you
Yeah,
about
it's a
this.
privilege.
we
to
could
be
go
able
on and on here.
to
But anyway,
share.
Terry and Jane Fleck, appreciate it. I've known you guys for many years at our church. You're a great Sunday school teacher. You really are. So anyway, thanks for joining us here
Thank
on
you,
our
Randy.
Finding Faith podcast. I'm Randy Ollis. Thanks for joining me in the Finding Faith podcast. Join me again next time as I share more stories of people who are guided by their faith. If this podcast has touched you, I hope you'll share it with a friend. If you have a story you want to share, go to lifestylelive.tv and click on the contact button.
This is Finding Faith with Randy Ollis. Be sure to like and subscribe to this podcast, and be sure to check out other great podcasts on the All Indiana Podcast Network online at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.